Take it away, Alan.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Thanks, guys. So we're going to talk 904. People who are not speaking, please mute. Thanks. Andrew, you filed 910. Do you want to talk about it a little bit? Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, of course. Hello, can you hear me?
So, yes. So the title is Initiating Prompt Pay for RAMs with Less Complex Payment Process.
Yes, that's the issue. That's the title. Yeah, just like the title says, the goal is to make payment process a little bit earlier, because when you the delays, if you check it, just like what Brent was saying yesterday. Hello.
Yes, as Brent was saying yesterday.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with taxing, like the tax for a certain amount you ought to pay. I think he was trying to say before the money gets to your account, due to the falling price, due to the falling value in rocks, the value you're gonna get drops. Meanwhile, your tax is there, and you still have to pay it. And I think there are a lot of issues because of the delay. And I think basically, as RAM members, as workers, I think we deserve to know. We deserve to have a fixed date of payment. These were some of the things I was trying to.
Okay, so maybe I can jump in and make a quick overall comment, and then we can go back to some of the more details. To me, there are two different issues here. One is a request for a less complex payment process, and that's something that I have a great deal of positive sentiment for. The payment process is complicated for myself and our chain as well as for contributors. And that's something that I have been working on. I haven't filed an issue yet because I want to be to make sure that I'm not saying anything that's incorrect when the issue is filed. But so that I have a lot of sympathy for. There's a different part of the discussion here that I'm more confused by, and that's what I really wanted to talk about. I think the part about prompt payment and so forth, that's very intelligible, and I can address that fairly straightforwardly. The language in which this is couched is a little bit confusing to me. So I've been seeing terms like rights and payments to workers. I think that there's a little bit of confusion as to what the purpose and the legal status of this system is. It's not a payment for services. It's people in the bounty system are working to help the cooperative. Their voted rewards, but it's not employment by the cooperative.
Yeah, of course, we know that. We know that.
So there are things like delegate full legal authority and seek resolution and claim process. I'm not sure what those mean in the context of the system. Donna?
Let me ask a question.
speaking, please mute their microphones. We're having trouble hearing.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, Donald.
Okay, so is it mandatory to do the invoices by hand? I mean, like filling.
No. So, Donald, as far as doing the invoices by hand, let's talk about what an invoice is and why there is an invoice at all. The invoice is basically a contract that says the contributor agrees that they did the following things and they were voted the following rewards, and this is the correct ETH address, and so forth and so on. It's basically a small legal document saying that everything is correct, and the contributor will be satisfied with the transfer of ROC to a particular ETH address. So the purpose of the invoice is to satisfy that kind of legal contract. It's just like everybody agrees, and that's the end of that particular.
And that's based on the US dollar, right? Doesn't have anything to do with ROC.
So I'm not sure what the question is. An invoice is the fulfillment of a contract, or it's a small contract indicating that once it's satisfied, that everything is complete.
Yeah,
that's the purpose of it.
My question is that.
So, go ahead.
The contract includes payment in USD, but it also has a conversion to ROC.
That's a reasonable question. I think if the invoice is misleading, that needs to be corrected. But the intent of the invoice is to conform to the terms of the board resolution, where any payments by our cooperative are made in ROC, because that's the asset of our cooperative. And it is a little bit strange that, to me anyway, that rewards are voted in US dollars and then converted to ROC. And in my opinion, it would be simpler if they were just awarded in ROC. But that's a detail. There's a formula there. It's published. That's the policy that you agree to when you submit an invoice.
But the ROC to USD ratio, at least in my case, it's always wrong in the Google Sheet template.
Okay, so I can look at your template. In some templates, it's been wrong. There was a bug in the template production system. The template system is something that developed organically, and it's probably not an ideal system. And as I say, I'm working on trying to upgrade it so that it's much easier to use. And to me, that's a reasonable request. But understand that the template is simply a record of the purpose is to make an agreement that upon transfer of ROC, everything is complete.
Okay, so I had an idea that we can implement the whole template inside the rewards app, and the user just has to click an accept button, and once he clicks that, and a PDF, it's instantly sent to the ops email.
Yes, I think something like that is reasonable, and I think that something like that we can work on.
Okay.
So why don't we address that first, and then, or the other thing I want to address is the language of people's courts and entitled to and stuff like that, which I find which that part I don't understand. Jim,
you're mute. You're mute, Jim.
Jim, you wrote a fairly long comment in this issue. You want to? Would it be okay to ask you to explain what the content of the comment is?
Well, the main point of contact was list the things that we can do, and on the one hand, I love the idea of standing up for our rights as human beings and getting paid simply and quickly for our efforts, and people not getting stuck for a month with expenses and other limitations of the system. And to some extent, the view of this has been sort of like a revolution of getting our rights, and at the same time, it's a saying, hey, yes, the system, the old way of doing things is not the way we want to do things in the future, and we want we don't want to create a situation where everybody has to go along with a mechanism that some people like and they're not comfortable with, or whatever. And there, there's some real needs, for handling things like direct expenses and other things that we want to ultimately take care of. And I think this is an affirmation that we're going to work on making this a real humane system, a human system that caters to the individual.
So I have a comment directly on that in terms of being a humane system and catering to individuals. I think that people associated with our system, the people that produce these payments and answer questions, and the system of templates which is being objected to, is an improvement over a former system. It represents work that people have been doing to try to make things better. And I think that just in terms of, you talk about humane, in terms of the perception of people that have put together these systems, saying that that work is not good enough, and they were badly done, and so forth and so on, is not a very attractive way for people who are working on it to be incentivized to improve things even further.
Yeah, I definitely tried to say that in my reply. We are a cooperative, and we have a cooperative solution, and it has gotten tremendously better from the old scenario days. Well, actually, Brent thinks scenario mechanism was better, but also.
No, I didn't say that.
No, well, that was the divvy. The divvy mechanism, and the scenario was similar. The same thing.
Divvy was way better. Agreed.
Brent, could you talk about Divvy and why it was better, and is that a model for this system?
The Divvy was the model. The original sheets, Divvy sheets, is what we what we used. I mean, Divi split from Scenario and then joined our chain, and we took the sheets with us, and then HJ improved them. We negotiated a number of the requirements of the system. Adding the dollars amount was something that the co-op wanted in order for their accounting. Make their accounting much easier.
Jim, may I just insert a comment here? What Ojimadu and I noticed in the ROC formula is that the USD conversion system affects many payments made by the cooperative, and so it's not just this system. The reason that the formula is what it is, it has to cover quite a number of different payments.
Right, and what I'm saying, this was in addition to the Divi system to calculate in dollars, which sort of complicates the system and creates a number of these issues. So, that's one area where Divi may have been better, but in terms of automating the process, what we have now is much better in other respects, or there's been numerous improvements, and I have to say, and I definitely feel that this is sort of an affront to yourself, myself, Dan, and HJ for the hard work we've done. And I understand why you feel the way you do about this, while at the same time thinking the aspirations that we have, the aspirations expressed are good ones.
Hey, I'd like to add. Now, Jim is much more eloquent than I ever could imagine being. I certainly am not Nelson Mandela, and I'm not Cesar Chavez, but I do believe that there was a need to establish a delegate. I've seen a couple of comments that have come back, and that's probably why it's good to have a delegate rather than issues just going on and on. Somebody brought up that, and let me say that I do appreciate you guys are trying to build a better system, and I think we all are cooperatively. So don't take offense when we think that there's a better way or a better model. But it's really kind of tough to argue the point when people are starting off assuming that I'm attacking the work that people have done or the unfortunate issue.
So Brent, let's take away any attacks here. I want to just read this language and ask you what you mean.
Okay.
So for instance, a comment 2 hours ago by you says, yes, full legal authority granted. What does that mean? We served proper notice. We showed up. Did you? We seek all RAM's support and fully support the delegated nominated. Equality before the law. What equality before the law are we discussing here?
Common law. We're talking about equality across the system and the principle of the matter.
A matter of what? Like, I still don't understand what you're even trying to say in that sentence.
Well, in essence,
I mean, it just makes absolutely no sense. And you keep saying full legal authority. Who gave you the authorization? Like, how is that person, just because they're nominated, doesn't give them legal authority to do anything?
Yeah, Brent, what do you mean by full legal authority? What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
We nominated a delegate through the process.
Right, but that was only you. It was you and 9 other people that you're claiming represent all Rams, which isn't true at all.
Just say, when you say, okay,
go ahead.
I'm going to moderate this because I don't want it to become contentious. I think what we're discussing right now is the word legal authority. So I heard Brent say that there's some kind of common law that he's referring to. I'm still not clear what that means.
Okay, let me ask you a question. We talked about the invoicing and a contract as it related to ROCs and USD. Is that not a contract, and is that not a corporate contract between the cooperative members and the Rams?
I would say that, so let me get your question. Can you, let me try to rephrase the question and then I'll give you the answer. I don't want to give the wrong answer the right answer to the wrong question.
Okay.
So are you asking, is there something with the force of a contract where the cooperative agrees to transfer ROC on the basis of a certain vote within the bounty system? Is that your question?
No, you said initially that we were a cooperative and that we were not employees. So my question pertains...
Legally in the state of Washington, the relationship is contractor, and the tax code, for instance, is W-9. Everybody has filled out a tax form to that effect. So that's kind of the governing law in the U.S. and in Washington.
I just moved from Washington, so I'm familiar with Washington, and I am aware that it's a legal entity in the state of Washington. But my question pertains to a contractual agreement that, is it not a corporate contract with the invoice as it relates to USD and ROC? That'd be my first question for you.
It is.
Answer the question. Okay.
It is.
So it is a contract, and therefore it's written, it's explicit, and it's binding, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Based on that premise, I believe that we have entered into an agreement. Would you not agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay. As a cooperative member and as a RAM, and this would go for anybody entering the system, I would say, since we've entered into a contract that is legal and binding, that we have legal rights as sovereign IDs. Would you not agree with that?
Yes. Well, wait a minute. When you say sovereign ID, now you've confused it. You have legal rights as persons in the definition of U.S. and Washington law.
Okay. And we have chosen to grant legal authority via a delegate, and we picked Andrew. Now, there might be somebody...
We have chosen to... Can you say that sentence again? I did not understand that.
I mean, it sounds like you're unionizing. I mean, that's like, I'm still just not clear.
Brent, yeah, there is a contract. How do you jump from a legal contract to full legal authority granted? What does that mean?
I'm stating that we are all sovereign individuals and we have legal rights, and you've agreed with that, correct? And I've been asked a question.
What I agreed to is that there is a legal contract represented by an invoice, and there may be other legal contractual things stemming from the nature of the process that we have.
In other words, Brent, you are in a legal contract that you have agreed with, and that's it.
I was going to say, as far as any rights, you essentially waive them because you're a contractor. You're 1099. Like, the company doesn't owe you anything, with the exception of what's specifically laid out within the invoice. Like, you're not given rights. You don't have rights. You're a contractor. You don't have, it's not like you're an employee.
Exactly.
No,
Okay, but is anybody here going to let me finish what I'm saying? Or are we just going to...
Please, Brent.
Okay, I do understand what you're saying. And I premise this that I'm not Cesar Chavez previously. But the process in terms of getting paid, let's bring it back to what the title of this is about. It's about changing a system given the circumnavigation. We get an invoice. We went through the other day that it was like 27 different steps to put it on a portrait, go back to Google, upload it, export it.
Okay, Brent, I've agreed with you that the system is not well done. It's been evolving. I think Jim Weitzcarver gave a little bit of the history. It's better than it was. It's not as good as it's going to be tomorrow. We all agree on that. The question is about the language that you're using in terms of you're claiming legal authority, equality before the law, and stuff like that. These are terms that have the potential to either move toward an important goal that you or others or all of us want to, or also to cause people to say in the membership or within RAMS, what is going on, what kind of system are we dealing with here? Do we really want to take all the time it's going to take to address things that are maybe way beyond the invoicing system, and is the bounty system even something that's worth doing in that circumstance?
Well,
you're conflating what I think is go ahead. Sorry, Brent. I apologize for interrupting.
I was just going to say that this is a matter of principle. The one individual just said
What's
that
the principle?
Economic freedom, equality, and getting paid for.
How does economic freedom? What principle of economic freedom is there in this invoicing system that we agree can be improved?
Getting paid on a timely basis without. I don't think a layman would be able to figure out how to go through all those steps, nor should they have to be a technologist to get paid after an invoice has been made.
So now, Brent, you are talking about the usability issue, which is another issue.
But it's kind of tied into
usability. I think we all agree to. The question is usability just something that we agree should be better, or do you have some sort of right? Is there a set of equality before the law kind of thing that we need to hire experts and focus our attention on these issues, or are we trying to focus on getting other things done? I think to me that's the big question. So what's your take on it, Brent? And Andrew and Jim.
I'll give you my take as far as addressing the one individual that says that the co-op or RAMs are just 1099. They're not.
I mean, I'm the one that said that. You can just use my name. I'm right here.
I don't know your name.
Aaron.
But yeah, I'd like to address you specifically.
Aaron.
Hi, Aaron. I'm kind of a rabble rouser. I'm not Nelson Mandela, but I am going to take a stand here, okay, based on what you said. So don't take it personally.
It's not its business.
don't think I'm attacking Lapin or I have no shame. But let me say this.
That was Dan. That's
okay. Well, I don't know
your
who said
argument with
it.
him.
But let me state something based on the principle of the matter. And it also comes down, since this is corporate law that's going on. Now, somebody says we don't have rights, yet I do believe there's been migrant workers in the United States that have come in, and they have had to unionize. I did bring up Cesar Chavez's name, and they've had to do something because they were exploited workers. So if you say we don't have rights, let's put it in perspective. We do. And if you don't agree with the principle of the matter, say...
Brent.
I think we're going off on a rabbit trail here. I mean, I understand, like, the whole principle was being paid in a timely manner, and now it's just, like, becoming far past all of that.
Yeah, Brent, where does the rights of migrant workers who are exploited, do you feel that as a contributor to our chain you've been exploited?
No, but in terms of common law and establishing governance and granting a delegate is within the rights of a cooperative.
Yeah, well,
and I don't think that there's anything wrong with. We did this through the sociocratic process, and what we did was we discussed this. We were going to have somebody post this by way of notice to bring attendance. Somebody said I posted it within 30 minutes because I never saw it in anywhere, because it gets lost in Discord. At least Donald's coming up with a better system too. That's the principle of the matter. We can do better. We can work more cooperatively and work within the system.
We can always do better. We can always do better and improve the system and make it more efficient. But the agreement that you have with the cooperative is fixed in stone.
Yeah.
So we're wrong in establishing a delegate. I mean,
I'll be right back.
The delegate is Andrew. If the delegate is Andrew, then Andrew, do you want to speak? Are you the delegate here?
Okay. I actually get what Brent is trying to say. It's actually necessary that. Can you all hear me?
Yes, not very well though.
Okay. I actually understand what Brent is trying to say. I think Brent is of the opinion that we I understand that we are just, let's say, contract staffs. We are not into full-time staffing and all that. But I think Brent is trying to say we should also have a communication channel with the board members. We should not just be, yes, there's an agreement, but every agreement should be subject to change as time goes on and as the event, as the time keeps playing out. There should be some changes. Maybe when we see that maybe this area can be adjusted, and somehow we should be able to communicate with the board. Yes, there's an agreement, but we should just bring up our own idea.
You can just talk to them on Discord.
Okay, just a second. Donald, I'm going to interrupt you because I want Brent, Andrew, as the delegate, said that he wants a more formal process or a different process for communicating with the board and affecting change within the cooperative. Is that what your understanding is as well? Is he speaking as your delegate, Jim? Andrew speaking as your delegate in that context?
I agree with what he said, yes.
Yes, and I think that, I agree that the legal language is not quite right or possibly wrong. I look at more at, sociocratic and self-management principles as being related to human rights and governance by consent and the kind of principles that our chain is wants to embody. And I guess I agree that if there was abuse, which I don't believe there is any abuse at this point, that there could be some legal recourse.
So Jim, can I just speak to what you just said? We're all aware that the cooperative is very young and we're just starting out on a long journey. In order to achieve these principles of sociocratic management and governance and so forth, we need a lot of infrastructure that we don't currently have. I guess it would be my opinion that if we want to work toward these, we should do that in steps, starting with small steps, and then be able to obtain a system that's capable of addressing larger questions like exploitation of workers or whatever. I just don't think that within our current system we're set up to do that. And I think that, and I'd say that by making that a polarizing issue, it's going to be difficult to really address in any kind of positive way.
I agree that the polarizing stance is counterproductive. I do agree that assigning a delegate is a step toward organization that can relieve some of the chaos of governance and control that's happening here. And really, it's only the 5 or 6 people at the meeting that have said, okay,
So Jim, what you're saying now is 5 or 6 people elected a delegate to speak for them. I don't understand why that would be cast as something that goes into a members channel for every member to asking every member to focus on, that there's a legal system of legal rights and workers and so forth, that all you're doing is saying we want Andrew to speak for the 5 of us. Is that correct, Donald?
Alan, aren't the co-op, the board of directors voted from us starting this year? I mean, the 1-year term board of directors?
Yes, there is an election coming soon.
Okay.
There will be several candidates that can be voted for. There will probably be 4 directors elected. You are welcome to vote. Everybody is welcome to vote.
So basically, these people are going to be our delegates.
You mean the board of directors will be delegates?
Yeah, since we are voting them.
Yes, but what Jim just said is that 5 people got together and decided that Andrew would speak on their behalf. I see no problem with that, but why is that turning into a major discussion about Cesar Chavez and human rights?
Well, I mean, I think it comes down to establishing a common law is a good place to start for a cooperative.
So establishing a common law, I'm sorry, Brent, establishing a common law for a cooperative is a very, 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 very large subject. If we want to do that, then we need to commit a tremendous amount of resources to it. So I'm not sure that, I'm not saying that I'm in favor or not. I'm saying that we have a very small amount of energy, we have a very small amount of focus, and we should choose what we want to focus on.
I hear what you're saying. However, we did try serving notice and bringing the whole point of our first meeting, and we delayed it through the sociocratic process and we delayed it so we could get greater attendance. And in that process, we served notice to other people to bring them in so they were aware of what was going on. And
what's the difference between serving notice and saying, hi, we're going to have a meeting, we're discussing this subject, would you attend?
I guess
yeah, go ahead, Brent.
I think in terms of governance, establishing equality in common law, in my eyes, in my personal view, my own will is the best place to start, is on even playing ground. I don't care if I'm talking to the king or anybody, but as a sovereign ID or somebody that's part of a cooperative or in a delegation, I think we're on equal playing ground when we're entering into legal and binding contractual law. And I would say that's why we established and gave a budget and gave full legal authority to Andrew.
What does full legal authority mean? And so I've asked Brent, I've asked you. No, I want to. Yes.
Alan, sorry to cut you short. I want to. I really want everybody to understand that. I think everybody's taking. This is a cooperative, and I think one of the goals or one of the things Archain stands for, I think, is decentralization, and I think every COP member has an opinion and has a right to its views. And I think what we should do here, instead of losing our focus, is understanding each other's views as we work towards making the process better for every one of us, working on prompt pay for now. I think Brent has a point, but I think you guys are not coming to a common ground here, and I think the way we are going, we could go back and front continuously, and we won't achieve anything. The point here is we want to help, at least want to help initiate a faster paying period, like prompt pay. And the point is, if it's, yeah, you want to say something?
So Andrew, if the goal is to get the system better and get payments made more
better collectively,
okay,
yeah.
I would suggest that if that's the goal, that we focus on that goal. If the goal is to establish human rights or freedom from being abused by the co-op, that we focus on that.
No, Alan. I think you're not getting. I understand where Brent is coming from, though. I think this is a case of misunderstanding here. It's not like we're and nobody's being abused or something. I don't know. I think at this point, let's focus on the goal, which is to initiate prompt pay and make the invoice system, or if we could make it better. I liked that idea Donald brought. We could send our invoices with a click. I think I like that idea. It's a good one. Just like what Brent said. Initially, I think I had a problem with the invoicing. Initially, when I just joined, I had a problem with sending an invoice. It's really a very complicated system.
What you're saying is a shared problem. Everybody has trouble with it. I have trouble with it.
We all agree with that.
I know that the system should be improved. If you want to make that the focus of this issue, I would suggest that you, as representative, or anybody that's interested in this, make the issue a little bit more focused. And
Yeah, I think the issue was for now narrowed to those 2 points, which is just like the title of the issue, prompt pay, and making the invoice system less complex. I think we should focus more on that for now. I would really want I would really want us not to take this personal, because I don't know, it seems they're taking it personal on Brent, and I don't think that's taking us away from subject matter, and that's making us not understand where Brent is coming from. That's what I think.
Okay, so we established that the goal here is to make the invoicing system faster, better, easier. So in order to do that,
yes.
Okay, so in order to do that, we need to incorporate the process inside the reward system. The reward system is mostly coded by Dan Connolly, but I think he's a very busy man right now. So we will need, I think if you propose something like that to him, he is going to need some help. So we need some PHP developers, HTML developers, in order to take up on the task and just do it.
And Google Script, which is JavaScript. But
yeah.
No.
Okay. So
Dan has actively supported us setting up a test environment for the bounty system, so that so the development would go to a broader community, not just him. And so, we've gotten to a certain point with our test system. We need more people on board to work with our staging environment for the bounty system and filling in the missing pieces. Okay.
Yeah, it's easier now to do, because Jim, Alan, and Dan created an interface that you can see the issues that you've worked for the past month. So the only thing that it's missing is a summary of the USD and the work you have done, an export to PDF, and an automatic sending to an email.
Oh, okay. Alan, I would also want to ask you a question.
Yes.
Okay. Are you saying prompt pay is difficult to achieve?
Well, so in terms of delay of payment, I think that with the current cooperative financial structure, and it takes probably it will end up taking a couple of weeks from, or at most a couple of weeks from receipt of an invoice or receipt of acknowledge, whatever the process is, to get it paid. So I think 15 days is probably a reasonable goal. Similarly, cooperative members or contributors, for instance, in July invoices, the July voting period closed on the 8th. We've received approximately half of the outstanding invoices. So it should be also not cause, contributors sometimes cause delays by filing late. So yes, I think that the process can be improved on both sides. I think 15 days is probably a reasonable goal. I think probably 30 days
hello, Alan.
A maximum amount.
Is it 15 days? That's 15 days into a new month?
So 15 days from the submission of an invoice 15 days to process it. The reason that it takes long to process is that the financial records are reviewed by hand in order to protect the co-op. It's not that somebody is saying, well, we want to make the life difficult for anybody. But the cooperative on a whole has many invoices. There are contractors, there are employees, there are expense reports, and these are all reviewed carefully by a small number of people. So that's why processing of invoices within our cooperative and within other organizations takes a certain amount of time, a reasonable amount of time.
Okay, so Alan, what's the best way forward now?
I'm sorry?
I said, what's the best way forward?
Well, I had promised that I'll file the issue that I've been working on, which I believe addresses the invoice question. There's another issue about in terms of financial management, which is that there's not a self-sovereign or unique, not even a unique ID for contributors within the bounty system. This leads to problems when somebody changes their GitHub address. There's not a process. It leads to problems when nobody has yet changed their email address, but it would lead to a problem with that. So we need a unique ID. There's also issues about ETH addresses. People want to change their ETH address. We don't have a formal process for that. They DM me and say, I no longer control my ETH address. Please change it to this. How do I know that that's not a phishing attack? What's a procedure that I can follow that would be reasonable? Another issue, I don't know how many people are familiar with Metamorphosis. He said that he doesn't have control over his ETH address. He doesn't know how to use his wallet. That it could potentially lead to a problem if ROC are lost in that process. So there are actually several ways in which we should be improving our processes. And yeah, you guys are correct in that. And moving together forward together in a narrow way, addressing these issues, I think to me is going to lead to results much more quickly than if we start to talk about what the cooperative represents in terms of sociocratic governance or liquid democracy or whatever. I mean, those are all important issues, but I think we should focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, I think that would definitely distracts from the issue. But is there someone in the co-op who handles the payment of invoices that Andrew can talk to get a better idea how this might be improved?
Yeah, I would suggest that Andrew speak with me and we get some focus on it. And if that turns out to be insufficient, we can involve other people. It's taken a lot of my time just processing invoices. Believe me, the invoice preparation system is difficult for you. I have to not only look through everything, I also have to help people with all the errors that are made in preparing invoices. I need to make sure that they're all proper. I need to make sure that what we present to finance is clean. They have to look at it manually. The invoices I can tell you that 26 or so invoices that have been filed between July 8th and July 9th and today are going out today. And, so I feel like we've actually been doing a pretty good job when you compare that to the level of organization that we've achieved so far within the cooperative and to external norms.
Alan, I'm really happy that after the discussion, it's good that we could come to a common ground. I want you to understand that Brent has an honest opinion, and what he's after is the good of the community and the cooperative, and we as
Yes,
collaborators.
Andrew, I agree with that. Let me say very clearly, I agree that what Brent is saying, I think represents goodwill, good intent. The thing that concerns me is focus. If we focus on trying to solve all of the world's problems today, I don't think that we're going to make good progress. I think that maybe in a small group, within CoLab, there could be a group discussing sociocratic governance, discussing liquid democracy, doing research into many things. If that's presented as demands to a large number of people, that's not effective in terms of, I don't believe that's going to be effective in terms of gaining the focus that we need to take all of these small steps, like getting you guys paid.
I would like to say, basically in my own defense, that's why we tried coming up with a narrow focus with the very issue and the title that we did. That's precisely, and that's precisely why we had that's precisely why we nominated a delegate to narrowly focus on this issue, because you guys didn't want to get into my political will or my opinions, for whatever they may be, and therefore I would rather take that offline and challenge Aaron in the debate on this new deal, and we can talk about the rights of workers, even migrant workers, if Aaron so cares to take that on offline.
So, Brent, who do you label as a migrant worker? A migrant coming to US or people working from around the world?
Well, somebody said that workers don't have any rights, or a 1099 worker does not have any rights.
What do you mean by
people that have migrated into the United States from Mexico to work in the agricultural field?
Your microphone is not working correct. Brent, can you say that again? Okay, Brent, let me try to summarize what I think you were saying. There was a statement made about the nature of what a contractor is versus a migrant worker. I think that statement was out of line and not supported by properly supported. I think that we should ignore that and move on. That unless Aaron has Aaron, if you want to pursue that, that's fine. But I don't think that either Aaron nor me nor you understands the issue of migrant workers well enough to really have a meaningful discussion here.
It's not even what this is about, so it's irrelevant.
Well, yeah, it is. You said that workers.
I said contract workers, Brent. Listen to what I'm saying. Contract workers in the U.S. do not have rights when it comes to the corporation that they're contracted to.
Okay.
Migrant workers do have rights.
I'm not talking. You're talking about migrant workers again, Brent. You're not listening.
Well, that's why I said we can take it offline.
It's not worth my energy.
All right. Well, then we don't have one. It's that simple. And let's get on back to the order of business. I just basically telling you what I think.
Yes, Brent, you're telling Aaron what you think. Aaron's telling you what he thinks, and neither of you really has, in my opinion, the background to have the sort of level of discussion that the words that you're using will require. I mean, the Supreme Court of the United States is a complex institution. It's funded by very large resources. It takes many years sometimes for things to get adjudicated. I would suggest that that's beyond the scope of our cooperative, at least today.
Okay, I would like to add that it's all within the scope of the principle of the matter, the whole reason why we came up with that issue.
Okay, I can accept that.
Jim, there is, sorry to interrupt, there is something going on the Colab server.
Yeah, I just messaged you, Jim.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
I gave the bot admin permissions to the server and published the video, perhaps publicly, which I didn't intend to do, that it exposed the bot's token. So this is the risk we take when we share our security secrets. It could, it doesn't look like it's anybody internally that's hurt us at this point. And I've gone to the, I've accepted the invite that to put in every channel, and I'll find out more about what, see if I can.
You renamed all the channels.
Yeah. The first thing to do is I have to expire the token of the bot, and that'll stop her from doing any more damage. And it looks like she didn't do any real damage. It looks just like it's annoyance changes that she made. Hasn't deleted anything. That's unfortunate.
Okay, so bringing us back to issue 910, Andrew, Aaron, Brent, Jim, has everybody said, communicated what they want to communicate? And Andrew and I are going to undertake to get the invoice processing done more quickly.
I don't have anything to add.
Andrew, are you there? Did we lose
I'm
Andrew?
here. I'm here. No, I'm here.
Okay, is that a good conclusion for this meeting?
Yeah, of course. That's a good conclusion.
Yeah, I think if issues are entered on each of the individual improvements we want, and if people step up to the table to work on them, or we can recruit people who would want to work on it, we'll get these things done.
I'd like to add.
Okay, so I'll undertake responsibility for filing the issues that I spoke of.
I'd like to add.
Andrew, Brent.
Well, I'll let
Brent.
you finish. Then I'll let you finish. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you didn't interrupt. I'm finished.
Okay. I was going to say that through our process, we did grant legal authority to Andrew to represent us as our delegate. In fact, we established a budget to accomplish these goals. We issued him, granted him a budget of $3,500 through the sociocratic process. And I'd like to motion that, put it right back into court.
You cannot grant
okay,
budgets.
So I'm sorry. I'm chairing this particular meeting. Brent, in terms of the sociocratic method and your right to grant money to individuals or established representatives with some sort of legal authority, I would suggest that you either file a different issue that establishes what the process is for that and what you mean, and keep it out of this issue, because so that we can make progress on payment issues. And in terms of the words legal and so forth and so on that have been going through these documents or comments, I would say one more time, these are charged words. Proper analysis of them requires expertise in common law, in laws with courts, in jurisdictional areas where we operate, and so forth and so on. To process them is very expensive. If that's the kind of thing that you and people want to do, you can vote to do that. You can use your energies to do that. You may be able to effect whatever is effected. And that's something that I would recommend that you make separate from the issue of invoice processing.
Yeah, this is just grounded in common law, and we're just standing up for our rights, and that's why we established a delegate or delegation in that process. It's not an argument, it's just what we did.
I do not understand the terms that you're using, grounded in common law. Now is not the time to discuss it. I think we're out of time. If you want to have a discussion about grounded in common law and authority for paying people and so forth and so on, you're welcome to do that. But maybe you and Jim and Andrew should refine the wording a little bit so that you can make progress in the directions that you want to make progress in.
That's fine. I just think it's good in terms of governance to establish the playing field that is grounded in common law, like the Magna Carta here.
I don't know what common law. I don't know what common law means. I don't know what you're referring to. The term that doesn't convey.
I don't think anyone here does understand what common law means. We need a lawyer in order to understand that we're not. It's a lawyer language.
This is the people's court. We've established that we have rights.
What is the people's court? Where did you establish that you have rights?
Common law goes back.
You're using big words. Yeah, you're using big words, but I don't understand them in the context. If somebody else understands them, they can speak. That's fine. If you want to try to write something that if you're addressing me, that's fine.
Well, Brent, I will recommend to you, if you create another issue on that topic, that you put sources from what those words mean in legal terms. So we are all up to date on the wording that you use.
All right, Donald, I will use your forum that you built, and I will do just that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the forum is actually a great place to do stuff like that. Okay, if there's no more, if we've accomplished what we need to do, we can adjourn the meeting. Does anybody have anything else that they want to add?
Let me just say that I'll just finish up on the hacking thing. I can no longer get anything to work at the Discord developer portal. It gives me an internal 500 server error every time. So I don't know what's going on.
The hacking already.
Okay, Jim, let's chat on Discord about it, and we may find a solution. And whatever.
Okay. So thanks everybody for talking about 910, and we'll Andrew and I will follow up.
Okay. Thanks, Alan.
All right, Gene. All right. All right.
Bye, everyone.